All right, everybody. When we talk about dedication to your field, delivered with style and finesse, we are talking about our next guest. By way of Spokane, Washington, residing in and caring for the people of San Antonio, we have with us today board certified nurse practitioner and owner of Stellar Health and Wellness, Tracie Dee in the power plant with us today. How you living?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing great, doing great. Thank you for your time, and let's get plugged in. Okay,
All
we are
right.
charged to do two things. One, discover our gift, and two, share that gift with the world. And right now, there's somebody out there who is buried underneath the weight of a false narrative they believe about themselves. And they're going to see this and they're going to say, I identify with her. She is from where I'm at. And I'm not talking about geographical location. I'm talking about mindset, and I'm talking about a set of circumstances. So, Tracie Dee, this is your hour to amp the people up with the power of your story. Let's electrify them.
I'm pretty sure I got this one.
All right. Knowing what you know now, what would you tell the 18-year-old version of yourself? And if you would give us a glimpse as to what was going on in her life at that time.
Okay, absolutely. Well, first, I'll give you a little history about myself. I am one of 6 children. All of my siblings are now either incarcerated or in rehab or have been deceased, have passed away. I had lost 2 sisters over the last couple of years, one of them to drug addiction and alcohol addiction, and one of them to ovarian cancer. My younger brother is currently serving a 30-year prison sentence. So we all grew up in the same household, but we obviously took different paths in our lives.
Right.
And with that came a lot of pressure for me, being the one successful one, becoming a homeowner and getting an education and pursuing my master's degree, now being a business owner.
Yeah.
So I've had growing up in poverty, growing up on welfare, growing up in the hood. That has tremendously affected how I turned out in life, I guess.
Yeah.
What I would say to my 18-year-old self is, first of all, it's so important that we establish boundaries. I can't stress that enough. You have to establish boundaries for your life, and that's with your family members, with your friends, within your community,
Yeah.
whatever setting you may be in school. We need to do that from an early age, and I think it's something that children should be taught in elementary school,
Yeah.
because if we don't establish boundaries for ourselves, we get abused,
Mm-hmm.
neglected.
Mm-hmm.
There's a standard of care, what we call it in medicine, when you're taking care of a patient with a certain condition. Well, there's standards of care for my life and for your life. You
Come
need
on.
to come be in a relationship with me, or a friendship with me, or a mentorship with me, and there has to be clear defined boundaries and rules. Also, what I think is very important is, from a young age, people need to be taught what is acceptable behavior. And that goes hand in hand, I believe, with setting those boundaries.
Yeah.
So we really have to educate ourselves on what is appropriate behavior and what is not. And you don't
Yeah.
have to have a master's degree to learn what a narcissistic personality
Right.
traits are, or some of the things that our parents can put on us or our
Yeah.
peers can put on us. We don't just have to take and absorb everything that people bring at us. We have the right to say, this is unacceptable behavior for me. This is a boundary. If you can't respect that boundary, I can't be aligned with you, or
Yeah.
I have to love you from a distance. And I've had to do that multiple times in my life in order to get where I need to be.
Come on. That's awesome. That's awesome. What was going on with you at 18, if you don't mind sharing?
Well, in my community, if you didn't have a child by the age of 16, there was something wrong with you.
Wow.
Everybody dropped out of school and got pregnant. We got on public assistance, welfare, food stamps, Medicaid. That was just the norm
Wow.
for my community. My mother was on welfare for 23 years. She raised us kids on welfare, and so I was determined from a young age that I would have a job and have a different lifestyle because for anyone who doesn't know what welfare is like or public assistance, the government gives you a check, basically a check once a month that comes on the first of the month.
Right.
And the amount of money you get depends on how many kids you have and all that. But that money is gone by the fifth of the month. And you just learn to live without for the rest of the month. There is no money management skills. There is no saving for anything because there's more month at the end of the money. Okay. So, and that's caused financial problems for me as an adult because as soon as I got money, I had to get rid of it because
Right.
that's how I was raised. It was like, oh, I got, a $2,500 tax return. I need to go get rid of it because that's how I
Right.
was raised. The money came on the first and it was gone on the fifth. So at the age of 18, that was my lifestyle. I had my first child at the age of 16.
Okay.
And I went on public assistance, but I was determined not to stay there. So I got a job at McDonald's at 16,
Thank you.
and I've worked for 30 years for other people. I'm 47 now, and I just started my own practice.
So,
But if somebody could have told me years ago that there's another option, there are many other options actually that you don't have to live the way that you are raised. That
mm,
saying, rise above your raising. I
right.
really feel proud of myself that I've been able to accomplish that. And it's my goal to help other people do the same thing. You don't have to stay in the patterns that your parents or grandparents and your siblings, have been accustomed to and have just adopted as their lifestyle. So I was
I
really
hope people
struggling.
are listening to this because there's a pattern here. We're hearing determination. I don't like where I'm at. Setting boundaries and not accepting what it is that you're being handed. See, it is imperative that we have people like you out showing and leading by example and then willing to help somebody who has been where you have been. And the next question is, can you tell us the story of how you discovered your gift, that gift that lives within you?
Well, that occurred from a very young age as well. I was growing up in poverty, wearing the same clothes every day of the year, to school. I wore the poverty on me. Okay,
Mm,
so I couldn't take it off. People could see my face and my personality, but they still saw the dirty clothes and the smelly clothes. And
oh,
my teacher would fix my hair in the morning when I would show up to school,
yeah,
and the principal would suggest that I try and find a different shirt, somehow yard sales. So when you have these adults that you're not related to that are trying to help you, and you're
yeah,
just a kid,
yeah.
so you don't really understand it at a young age. But the lack of attention that I got at home, being raised in that situation, I felt the opposite in my school environment. So I was elected student body president of my
Come on.
elementary school in the sixth
Yeah,
grade, even though I wore the same,
that's
holy shoes.
that's awesome.
That I was such a friendly student, kid. I loved people. I loved my environment. I loved learning. I had a passion for learning. But at home, that meant zero. Okay.
Right.
Unfortunately, and I don't necessarily blame my mother. She was going through whatever she was going through that kept her in that locked in place where she had no hope and no energy and no desire for anything better. That was just the lifestyle she accepted for herself.
Right.
So I think, being experiencing kind of two sides. Where at home you're really nobody, you're just an extra mouth to feed, and at school they put you on this pedestal where you're elected president against the
Right.
rich kids and
Right.
all that. And my mother actually told me when I was in the 8th grade, she said, you don't have to go to school anymore because I never finished the 8th grade. I don't expect you to. But I loved school, so I was like, why would I quit school? I am a straight A student, president, all this stuff. But that was her level of comfort and understanding and not being able to dream anything bigger for herself.
Wow. So that is what led you to discover your gift for caring for others. That's what started it, huh?
Well, I would say the way others cared for me. It
Oh,
inspired
okay.
me. It inspired me to
Okay.
be a caregiver. I'm a natural born caregiver, I believe.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
started my medical career as a home health aide working for hospice patients. I would go into the homes and sit with terminally ill patients, sometimes that had no family members, and I would be the person sitting next to them when they passed. And that was at a very young age. So I always had a heart for other people, and it got me out of my environment where we at home, we didn't really care about anybody else in the outside world. All we cared about was that check coming on the first.
Come on.
So I think the way other people cared for me, and that's what I hope to accomplish. I've mentored a lot of young women, young men that wanted a career in medicine or nursing, and they were in my same position. They had nobody encouraging them and telling them they could have a different life. And I've seen several graduate with their nursing degrees and go on to have just wonderful, success stories of their own. And I don't take credit for that. It's the people that did that for me that said, you can go to medical school or nursing school or become an engineer. And I wasn't getting that at home from the people who knew me the best. I was getting it from people who weren't blood related, people, who just saw in me something that I didn't.
And see,
So,
I'm gonna challenge you on that. Okay, you
okay.
said it wasn't coming from the people who knew you the best.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna challenge you on that because sometimes when you're around the people that you're raised with, they
Mm-hmm.
project onto you themselves.
Oh,
And
yes.
the people that knew you the best were the people that saw you in your element. So, I mean, I'm
Yes.
gonna challenge you on that one
Oh,
because
challenge accepted, B. You are absolutely correct, because let me tell you, the way I sum it up from my experience in my household as a young child was, and even as an adult, is, misery loves company. So in the case of my family and my environment where everyone was on welfare and expected everyone else to be on welfare, we were all you're kind of a sellout if you say you're going to go to college. you
wow,
know
wow,
why would you go to college when you get free money every month and you get a food stamp card? So you are absolutely correct. Those people saw me, and they still do, in my natural environment of what I love, caring for
yeah.
people, being me. So I appreciate that. You shed some light on it in a different way that I hadn't really thought of.
Well, I mean, that's what we do for each other when we shine the light.
Mm.
Next question, because this is powerful. Can you tell us the story of how you discovered you had a responsibility to share that gift that you've been given?
Wow. that's that's a deep one. It goes, I'm so grateful for my life.
Yeah.
Watching my younger siblings pass away or suffer
Mm.
from addiction, suffer from, incarceration, in and out of jail, in and out of prison their whole lives, it just really made me appreciate my freedoms.
Mm.
Even deeper than that, when I step outside of my clinic at night, I have a late night where I close down and I go outside and I look up at the moon and I see that moon as the same moon that my ancestors looked up at. I am African American. Some people, think I'm Puerto Rican or Hispanic, but my father's African American, my mother's Caucasian. So the struggle, I realized that there's a Tracie Dee in my bloodline from
Come on.
years ago, centuries ago, that looked up at that same moon and never even imagined that she could have the life that I have. So I think that is the most important thing, as far as I'm still alive on this earth and living, breathing, and they have passed. My younger sisters have passed. They passed at age 31 and 32. So I will not take this opportunity for granted, that I have
Come
been
on.
given I have built and been given a good life. And I walk with pride, not of myself, but of what my ancestors went through.
Yeah.
So that, I think that's what makes me a really good caregiver, is that I genuinely care about people.
I hope y'all are listening. Like, this is some next level. I'm gonna just move on because mm,
I should say, I genuinely care about people, and I care about people's struggles. But
yeah,
I care about rising above the struggle, because we all have them. Like I said
absolutely.
about our ancestors, they never imagined that they could have, say, a home with an in-ground pool or something, or even the freedoms that we get, to just travel about freely. So that is so important to me, to never forget that somebody paid a serious price for me to be able to do this today.
Absolutely. And to that fact, I think sometimes we don't go back far enough when we talk about our ancestors,
That's
because
yes.
we didn't start out the way that we showed up here. You know what I mean? But that's a
Right.
whole nother topic. But next question is, how did you make belief reality? Like, there was a point in time that you had this dream, like, I can achieve more. How did you make that dream reality? Coming from a place where you didn't have the skills, you didn't have anybody like to naturally tell you these things. How did you make belief reality?
Well, I'll tell you, the input from those teachers and principals and people, community leaders, not necessarily people, my neighbors and stuff, but community leaders. I went to the library a lot when I was a kid. I hung out at the, East Central Community Center. And
Yeah,
I always had people tell me, you have so much potential. You're smart, you're
come on.
friendly, you're genuine. That I had so many people that planted those seeds. And that's why it's important for us to really be encouragers, because
Yeah,
to these young people, adults, anything, you just
yeah,
never know what somebody is going through. And just one small sentence of "you have so much potential" could really impact somebody. So that, I think, is the first and most important thing, is that helped me to make my belief a reality, is because other people told me that about myself.
wow.
you know but as I became an adult and I struggled, I'm gonna tell you right now, it took me 15 years to get my nursing degree, because I had one side pulling me, my community, my background, saying, you're not good enough. You don't belong in nursing
Mm,
school. What are you
mm,
doing trying to take organic chemistry? You're not, you belong over here with your community, with having multiple children on public assistance, depending on the government. Like, so the internal demons, but then I had
come
people on
on.
the outside, and I'd say, well, I read a book about somebody that did this, that came from an even worse situation than me, and became, the chief medical officer at
Yeah.
Harvard Medical School or something.
Yeah.
So I had this constant pull, and I just decided to go with, what, I'm going to say I can do it. And
There you
one thing that I mastered as an adult in turning belief into reality is I envisioned and imagined everything that I have in my life right now. I imagined owning my own. I imagined
yeah.
wearing this white coat. I would fall
See it.
asleep imagining walking into a patient's room with this white coat with my credentials on it.
Yeah.
I imagined sitting by the pool and just enjoying my children and my
Yeah.
family. Things that we just didn't do. We didn't. We were. literally, when I came home from school in the 6th grade, all of our belongings were on the front lawn. And I'm like, what's going on? Well, we're getting evicted and the sheriff's coming at midnight to get us off this property. Like, those are the kinds of trauma experiences
Yeah.
that I had. So I was very determined, like, I'm never going to let that happen to me or my children. So turning the belief into a reality has so much to do with your mindset. So much to do.
For y'all who are listening, there's a pattern, there's a formula here. Please pay attention. It doesn't matter where you're at right now. It matters where you see yourself.
Yes.
And we have somebody, a living testimony right here in Tracie Dee. I applaud you for all the things that you're doing, for taking the time to not only do it for yourself, but to give back to help others. Last question. What would you like to share with the listeners about what's on your current situation or on your horizon, and where they can interact with you with the online community or locally?
Okay, well, on the horizon, I've recently opened my own practice, Stellar Care Health and Wellness. We're in the Northeast San Antonio, Garden Ridge area, if you're familiar with that.
Yes.
But when I was looking for a place for my practice, I was determined not to have a medical feel like a concrete jungle atmosphere where you go
Yeah.
and sit in a waiting room and you're looking at some magazines that are 4 years old. So I'm very proud. My clinic is actually set up in a little cottage in Bracken, across from Bracken Village in Garden Ridge area. It's a very positive, fun environment. The people that work with me are the same, like-minded,
Come on.
appreciative of every single client that comes in that we get to bless. And I have handpicked the people that work with me for that reason, because
Yeah.
they're also natural born caregivers, and they know, they know what I expect. They know what our clients expect. And it's not a front, it's not a fake. We just love taking care of people. These nurses that I
It's a,
handpicked from
it's
my,
a culture.
several years
Yeah.
experience working with them, that I
Yeah.
knew, like, this is who I want on this venture. And I reached out to them and said, hey, this is what I'm doing. I really want you to be a part of it. So on the horizon, we look to expand. I'd love to have a Stellar Care New Braunfels. I'd like to be in some areas that aren't as accessible to healthcare. Texas
Okay.
has 65 counties that do not have access to primary care. And while I'm not a primary care physician or a primary care provider, I still care very much about my community and about health
Yeah.
and wellness. My number one goal is to help decrease the incidence of high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, obesity in my community. So I have weight loss programs. I also do IV hydration to help boost immunity, help with energy issues, fatigue, all kinds of issues. I do aesthetics as well. Being a woman that's almost 50 years old, I really care about how I look. And so,
Yeah.
we do the
Yeah.
Botox, we do lip filler, we do things, other things cosmetically, but my passion is really helping people that live with the optimal health. And before I just want to say, I forgot to mention something about the belief to reality. If you can see behind me, these are vision boards. I don't know if you've ever
Yeah.
heard of vision
Oh
boards.
yeah.
Okay, I'm a big believer in vision boards. And you can't see this one that's off to the side, but this is the one that I made when I was working in the emergency room as a nurse. And I made this one, and almost everything on this board has come to fruition. I
Come
received my
on now.
degree. I've got a diploma or a degree. I put that up there. My business allows me to have a life that I love. I put that on there 5 years ago.
Yeah.
A mission trip to Haiti is on there. My house with the in-ground pool, I just finished that about 2 months ago.
That's all right.
My dream car that I got as a graduation gift is on that vision board.
Come
So
on.
really, not only with the mindset, of falling asleep with your visions and your dreams,
Yeah.
you have to have it like shadowing you all the time. As I sit
You
here on
have
my
to see it.
computer, those dreams
Yeah.
are right there with me. And so I just wanted to add that
Oh,
because I
thank you.
truly believe in it.
It's because it's the truth.
Mhm.
Where can people find you online? Is there a way that they can?
Yes, my website is www.stellarcaresa.com. You can go on there and see all of the services that I offer. All of the prices are on there. Right now we have some amazing discounts just to get people in and so that I can talk to them about their health goals. And I'm not, I don't want to pressure people, but I also want to bring the reality to them of how much, obesity and diabetes can really affect, your lifespan, your energy levels, your how long you have to be with your children and your loved
Right,
ones.
right.
So it's sometimes tough conversations, but my patients do love me for that. So I'm very proud of it.
Absolutely. So we want to respect your time, but people, hear what hear what the love that's coming from this experience and this beautiful story. Look at what can happen when you apply that, what it is that you've learned positively to your life. Check Miss Tracie Dee out online, locally, and get taken care of from the inside and
Yes,
out.
yes. You can
Thank you
call
so
me.
much.
Yes, absolutely. You can call me. You can jump on the website. You can book online, even if you want a free consultation. Just go on the website, click book now, set up an appointment with me. I would love to meet you and talk to you one-on-one and see if there's some way I can help you achieve your health goals and
Well, God
your
bless
life
you.
goals.
Yes, God bless you, and thank you for
God
being with
bless
us
you.
today.
Absolutely.
All
Thank you for
right.
having me. It's been
Oh,
fun.
gotta have you back later just to see the
Oh,
progress.
that would be
Yeah.
awesome. That would be
All
awesome. I
right.
appreciate that.
Well, everybody stay connected to your positive aspirations, dreams, and goals, and make believe reality. All right.
Mhm.
Take care.
Thank you.
To change the narrative in your life, take the next step. Invest in yourself and book a life strategy coaching session with me at www.beliefinteriordesign.com. Let's start the journey of making belief reality.